Anybody else? Mr. Tasin, your Vice President, you can, your board member, you can speak.
Good evening, gentlemen. It's good to be here with you. Last 3.5 years, and ladies. Last 3.5 years, I've attended every CCA meeting that took place. All of you have not done the same, and I know everybody has responsibilities they have to meet. I've also attended almost all of the RAC meetings for the last 3.5 years. Traffic control, all of the meetings. The Meadows HOA, all of the meetings. So I speak from someone who has sat and listened to the pros and cons of almost everything that's been discussed here tonight. I've also been rounding up a lot of information from the community about the things that are being discussed, what we might call in private, at least not at committee meetings, not at the CCA or not at our HOA meetings. I'd like to straighten out some of those things and also apply maybe a little bit of math. I know, Martha, you were, I guess, a little excited, but it's not 2 years, it's 3 years. The 2018 counts as 1 year, 2019 counts as another year, and 2020 is almost over, so that's the 3rd year. So we're in the 3rd year of trying to do what responsible people do. In 2017, we voted 12-2 to accept the responsibility of the amenities of Cypresswood Village. Big responsibility. In the early stages of the debates that went on, and we met then, back then, if you remember, weekly. I was with a lot of reservations about doing it because coming from another gated community, I understand not only the responsibilities, but the financial costs involved in having a swimming pool, having a golf course, having 6 clay tennis courts, and many other amenities. It's a very expensive proposition. However, back in 2017, we voted to accept that responsibility. And then we realized, after looking things over, that we had to borrow $1 million to help upgrade some of our amenities and especially the golf course. And we borrowed $1 million, and I think we've done a great job with that $1 million, and you're enjoying some of it right here. Some of the grounds outside of our, if any of you remember what it was like in 2017 with dead trees falling over and hardly any flowering, any shrubs. It really wasn't a pretty sight, not inviting at all. That was all taken care of, and then we realized that the greens had to be replaced, and many meetings were held, much explanation to all of the presidents and vice presidents about why those greens had to be replaced and why it was going to cost another $1 million loan. And what did we do? We voted in favor of it. We all voted in favor of it. I was in favor of it. I had come a long way to realizing, all right, I've accepted the responsibility as vice president of my community to participate in developing what we had undertaken. And I have no qualms about the fact that we had to raise our dues, and I paid the dues like everybody else. Well, now we come to the point where we've had a real shortfall. Not the cause of anybody who is on the committee and works as a volunteer on other committees or any vice president or president. We did not create the virus. It came to us from overseas. So that was the biggest, I would say, inhibitor of our gaining funds. What we have to do now is come to grips, and I said this at another meeting where I talked, come to grips with what we're facing. We're facing a shortfall that requires us to come up with the kind of budget we have now. Requires us not to get in little clusters and say things like, gee whiz, here they tell us we're hurting for cash, and they put a $75,000 roof on this clubhouse to make it look pretty for November 7th. That isn't why there's a $75,000 roof on. As a matter of fact, at today's price, it wouldn't even be $75,000. But when the roof was going to come due, it probably would have been about $75,000. But we didn't pay that kind of money out. We had the good luck, if you want to call it that right now, of a wind causing damage and an insurance company meeting its responsibilities to put a new front for us with us paying the deductible. So once again, all through the community, this business about how can we spend that much money. Another thing with the pools, I was given the job, I would call it, one of the terms I use, point man on resurfacing the pool. Now if we're going to talk about resurfacing the pool, then I can get it done for less than $50,000. If we're going to talk about another project, which includes many, many things that has nothing to do with resurfacing, then it's going to cost a lot more. That was not the challenge I was given. My job was to be point man on resurfacing the pool. And I can tell you, I've had the state here, I've had the county here, I've had developers here, I've had pool contractors here, and we do not have to meet all of the specifications, as Martha pointed out, if we were going to, as we would have to meet if we were building a pool today, a fresh start. We are grandfathered in, and if we're just going to do the project of resurfacing the pool and some general maintenance that you would do, for instance, remove the ladders that are in the way and then put them back on again, that's not called redoing the pool. That's just general maintenance that takes place when you do the resurfacing. We can do that for less than $50,000. Now, if we're going to replace the pumps in the pump house and the plumbing in the pump house and maybe expand the pump house, yeah, that's going to cost a lot more money. That was not part of the project that I'm looking into. So why is there a difference, and why did the price jump from $50,000 to $120,000? We're talking about two different projects. That's why the price jumped. And the rumors going around, oh, they're just telling us $50,000 to get us to say yes for this $300 budget increase. That was not part of my project. Nobody asked me to make this talk tonight. I asked if I could. Why? Because somebody mentioned, I think last meeting, 1,500 hours. I probably have 3,000 hours in since the middle of 2017. And I wasn't paid for it. But I'm involved. I live here, and I'm going to die here. Now some of you, maybe, are hoping that the price of your house will go up, and you got ideas of making it $100,000 and then disappearing. I'm going to be here till the end. And that's one of the reasons why I'm volunteering so much time to all of the activities that go on in here. The bank loans. The bank loans have specific requirements, so I'm not going to go through it. But I read, as I get kidded about it, just about everything. As a matter of fact, when we had the lease, I was the only person, I'm pretty sure, who read from cover to cover every word of, I think it's 27 pages. And I brought up some things that weren't covered at all by anybody, and we got them straightened out at the meetings, including a very important one with Mr. Wood. Something that he didn't ask for in there, and was very willing to immediately straighten it out. And speaking about Mr. Wood, I don't know who sitting here thought that he was going to supply us with free amenities for the years that we lived here. I don't know who was told by a realtor that the amenities were paid for by Mr. Wood and you didn't have to contribute anything. What a deal. What a deal. So maybe some people didn't know that there were amenity costs that were being paid by somebody else, and that we were going to eventually, when Mr. Wood stopped developing our community, gets fully developed, which happened to the one I lived in previously, the developer turns the amenities over to the people if they want to take the responsibility. And you know what? We said we want it. We want the responsibility because we want the amenities. I was stunned at 7-7 vote. I was stunned by it. But the people who voted 7 no's are people who voted with the 14 yeses to get us to where we are. Now, I wasn't one of them because my president is another man who attends almost every meeting there is to attend, and he was there voting in my place because I would have voted in his place and voted the same way if he hadn't been there. But the rest of you, maybe not everyone sitting here now because there's some vice presidents, didn't vote yes. But your communities, your HOAs, did vote yes. I'm stunned by it even yet. I'm still stunned by it. Let me quickly give a couple of other things here. A nasty rumor. Bob has put up with so many nasty rumors. Here's another one. Bob's got half you people on his payroll. What? He can't make anything. Yeah, you didn't get your check. Did you cash it? No, you didn't cash it because you didn't get one. Is there anyone here on Bob's payroll? If there is, would you please raise your hand to clear it for the audience? I don't see any hands going up, folks. There's nobody here on Bob's payroll. Nobody. Furniture in the lobby. TV set, which is nice because it shows some nice features about our community when you walk in, especially for guests that you might bring in here or people who may be coming in here because they're renting our venue and putting money in our treasure. I said, gee, isn't that nice to have that? Look at the golf course there. Look at this. Look. And somebody said, boy, I checked the receipts. No receipt for that TV set. How did they get it? See, they're hiding the money. They're spending it to make the place look neat, and they don't even have a receipt. And so I looked into it. It's not a brand new television set like the rumor says. More importantly to all of you, it was donated by somebody free. Free. It's hard work for some people to even accept. Free. Well, if we go ahead with the pool project, and it's something we're still working on, and I have some bids, and I have material that should last us 10 years, and if it costs $120 to do it with Mars, and there is, I have checked with Marsite, if we did it with Marsite, it would probably cost us, by the time we got done, over $100,000, for sure. I've got a product, I've got three manufacturers with a product that says that the material will last at least 10 years. So we could do the pool 3 times and not have spent as much money as one Marsite, which would only last 15 years if you treat it real carefully. What do I mean by that? Make sure the chemicals are right, make sure that nobody brings furniture into the pool, make sure that people don't bring toys in that's going to scratch the Marsite. And no decisions have been made on that. No decisions have been made to spend 120 or 50. But I'm pushing for the 50. And I think we'll get it. I think when we get all the facts in. I don't know how some people do math. Now, I know what my HOA dues are going to go up. It's not half, it's not 50% or almost 50% of what I'm paying now? My gosh, I paid $10.45 this year. 50% more is going to put me up to $1,600? I don't think so. I don't know where the 43% came in, but that scares people when they hear it, and they think, gee whiz, I better vote no. I've got somebody in my community who can't pay 43% more. Do the math. See what you're paying. Bonds. Our contract, I told you I read all of our contracts when I can get my hands on them. Our contract says we cannot have another investment like bonds. That's going in debt in another direction, as I understand what you talked about. Our contract forbids that. So some of you who said, gee whiz, I'd buy a bond. Somebody else says, well, I'd buy a bond. We can't do it. And it's just going in debt another way. We're not going to borrow more money. We're going to ask everybody, as my good friend that I'm getting to know better and better, Steve, said, tighten your belts. This year we got to tighten our belts, and we got to pay we got to accept this budget. It's time. It's time to come to reckon the fact that we voted yes to take a lease from a man who didn't have the responsibility to provide us with a whole bunch of nice free amenities. And we took the lease. We voted yes. It's time then to think about the $1 million that we all voted yes to. And it's time to think about the second $1 million that we all voted yes again. It's time to vote yes on the budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tasin.